What's up, gang? Welcome to The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius and Robert. I'm so pumped to have you here with me. Now listen, The Greatness Machine, we're about two things. Number one, people who are living their passions. And number two, those who are creating greatness in the world and doing both of these things despite the odds against them. Each episode, we're going to feature interviews with game changers, business leaders, telling us their origin stories, what made them tick, what got them to where they are now. Why? So it can help you step into your greatness within your life, your business, and your career. Occasionally, you might hear a few solo episodes from myself, moi, as I say, as I leverage my 20 years of entrepreneurship as a CEO and founder to help you grow and level up in your journey to scale your life and your business. So come be a fly on the wall, enjoy the conversation, and I'm stoked to have you here with me. Guys, welcome to today's episode of The Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius and Robert, and boy, do we have a special guest. My man, Bob Glazer, is in the house. What's up, brother?
Darius, good to see you again.
Oh man, dude, I think you're a three-peat. This is your third time on the show.
I'm not going to be invited back anymore. I think this could be the end. So we're going to make it count.
No, man, Bob's easy to bring on the show because we have such like a mutual like whenever we talk about life, we like keep seeing life the same way. I'm like, oh yeah, I agree with that. So we're like in the mutual fan society of each other's like belief system.
See life how it is, not how we want it to be.
Oh man. So guys, Bob's been on the show a bunch of times. For those of you guys that we met originally, for those of you guys that you can listen to any of the previous shows, they're all fun and awesome. And he's always doing amazing stuff in the world. But we met through GOT at MIT a few years ago. He was doing some awesome work, wrote a book that just went like elevate, that went like nuclear. And I was like, oh man, like dude, this guy's like killing it. And then he helped me with my book launch. He was very helpful, instrumental in that, making that a success. But Bob's doing a lot of amazing stuff in the world. I'm going to get kind of your formal bio, and then we'll kind of do a little bit of origin story for past guests.
Keep it short. So keep the expectations low for me.
Yeah, no. So Bob Glazer is a stud. He's like one of these guys where like I could just like crush it with 4 bullet points. So founder and chairman of Acceleration Partners, huge business that does affiliate marketing, works with affiliate marketers. So we probably won't even talk about that too much because of all the work you've been doing since building and now exiting that company. A Wall Street Journal best-selling author of 8 books, global keynote speaker and host of the Elevate podcast, which is an amazing podcast. Has amazing guests on that show. So you guys go check that out. And last but not least, the reason I asked Bob to be here today is he has a new book. It's a book about core values, which I love. You guys know I'm a core value evangelist, as is my friend Bob. It's called The Compass Within. And when's that come out? When are we?
October 14th. So hopefully it's either this week or right before, based on when we're really recording.
Oh man. Okay. So we're gonna make sure that this thing goes out. Do you want? I'm just gonna know. Do you want this out the week of week before?
Yeah, launch week would be great. Yeah.
We're doing it launch week. So guys, it's we're gonna pretend like it's October 14th.
It is. You can go today, and it is available for you.
Yeah. Happy you guys. Halloween's right around the corner. So when we start talking about summer stuff, that was months ago. Oh man, how you been, dude?
Good. It's been, as you know, this is a process, and I love writing these books, but giving birth to them it's a whole different level of effort.
Yeah, 8 books, dude. I did 1. And,
yeah, I should have stopped at 1, but what I lack in quality, I make up in quantity. So there you go.
I started working on a new book this summer because I've been itching to do one. I think I'm still, but then I got sidetracked and didn't do what I should have done.
Shorter books. I think actually like this is a short book, and I think society is moving towards, we have societal ADD. I mean, most Ivy League kids I saw think 80% haven't read a full book in like the last 2 years. So I think we got to keep books shorter and people feel accomplished. When people read Elevate, they were like, text me like, I read your whole book. I'm like, it's an hour. Congrats. Like, it's really, it's like 80 pages. So, but I my publisher is really supportive of that. And this is a story too. This book is kind of a story, a parable. So hopefully I tell people like in 10 pages, you'll either love it or you won't like it at all. So you'll know either way.
What's funny? I was just on a call with a group out of Brooklyn who I advise. And I was talking to the COO, and they're having to hire they're doing a hire for a management role in the company, and they're like a younger business. And I said, hey man, they're not younger, but they're smaller business. And I said, hey, you should read the book Who by Jeff Smart. And so to your point, he's like, I just had to ask you one question, Darius. And he's like a Hasidic guy from like Brooklyn. He's like,
Cliff Notes.
I swear, no, he just said he did it even better though. He's like, to your point, it was like a bullseye to what you just said a moment ago. He's like, is it one of those books where like there's a bunch of stuff that they don't need in there because their publisher asked them to write a book that has like 300 or 400 pages? And I said, my recollection is a pretty small book. He's like, because I just wanted a book that gets to the point.
Yeah.
So
Who is a great book. So I highly recommend that. So
yeah. Have you interviewed Jeff? Do you know him?
I have.
Yeah,
and
he's stud.
He could be in stand up. Like he's a really funny guy.
Super.
And I from our podcast interview, he told me the story of the $3 million slap, which I included in one of my books, which is one of my favorite all time stories.
Did
by asking better questions. I'll ruin the story, but basically he's interviewing a guy for a sales job, and when he asks why he left, he says difference of opinion, and then Jeff does these, and then what happened, and tell me more questions, and 20 more of those, and it turns out the guy called the CEO in a board meeting. His name was Richard Dick, and then they punched him in the face after the meeting, and then lost all his stock options, which were $3 million. But because he didn't stop after the first 10 answers, and he was like, and then what happened? And it turns out this guy led the Canadian Hockey League in like penalty minutes one year or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that part. So I knew I had heard the story of the guy socking his boss in the face.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it cost him $3 million in stock options and that he led the Canadian Hockey League in penalty points. But that's one of my favorites.
Or something like that. It's a great story. Good. Jeff's speaking of storytellers, Jeff's a very good storyteller.
Oh, to your point, like he's the CEO of GH Smart, which they do a bunch of high level recruiting and hires for like Fortune 100 companies, but great storyteller. And he's a former guest on the show. So I love that show. So yeah, man. So let's hear, like, obviously give the audience kind of like the skinny on your background, and then we could get to the book.
Yeah, so I've spent I'm got that disease called serial entrepreneurship. You're a card carrying member.
Yes.
I've started a bunch of different businesses, the largest of which is a marketing agency called Acceleration Partners. And along the way, we were trying to build our company differently, and we won a whole bunch of culture awards. And I started kind of writing in our industry and using writing as a way to kind of talk about the things that we were doing. And first kind of fell into this corporate core value stuff, which we've talked about. But then after I wrote my book, Elevate, realized, and people asking me, well, okay, you talked about understanding your personal core values and what that can do for you. Like, how do I do that? And I'm like, well, it's just not that easy. Like, I have this process that I've done with my team, and I'm still working on it. And then eventually I turned it into a course. But there's a lot of people in the world, if they're like, I'm interested in this topic, like, oh, go take my course. That this is like a bridge too far for them. And so I wanted a book or a story that sort of brought this to the masses. As my BHAG now is to help 1 million people figure out their core values in the next 5 years. Like, that's just my overarching goal. So I'm a big fan of Lencioni and Bob Berg, and I was thinking about writing this book. I'm like, I'm just not sure anyone wants to read a book on core values. Like, I'm just not sure that they would pick it up. It would just sound boring. And so, like, what if I created a really compelling character who's going through this core value struggle, and so people could kind of see it, and then I'll tell them what they saw at the end. And I think it worked as a format. And I think a lot of people who have, read it before its launch are friends like, God, I felt like you were talking about me, and I had it last night. It's just because Jamie's sort of struggle and with his boss and with his partner and with his community, they're all things that we have all felt. And he is just meant to be a vehicle or a mirror for us to see ourselves in him as a classic sort of protagonist.
So with this type of a book, first of all, you said something a moment ago, which is you believe in small books. How many pages did you crank this out in?
Look here, like you can see, like it's tiny, right?
Okay.
It's like a little, it looks like a Tuesdays with Maury or something like that. So you can read this in 70 minutes. Like,
oh,
easily.
wow. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that is definitely,
it's 180 pages, but the pages are not, they're small. It's small format.
So with that type of situation, when you start thinking about, and like this is now coming from one core value author to another, since you're about to publish a core value book, I've published a core value book. Obviously, it's important work, whether you're talking about building core values for a company. I love that you're doing for the person, because I think that people like intuitively understand their values. Like they know what pisses them off and what makes them like
they can't
proud.
articulate what they are though. Yeah.
Totally.
Or they have one word, and my whole thing is one word doesn't work. Family doesn't work as a value. Integrity doesn't work as a value. It doesn't help you make decisions. It's not differentiated enough. And as you said, people know, my analogy is, so imagine you have a black tunnel and I have a really nice car and I'm turn the lights on and I'm like, get to the other side. I'm going to drift to the first wall. You know, it's going to be a horrible sound. I'm going to come to the middle. I'm going to drift to the other wall. I'm probably going to get the car through the tunnel and it's going to look like shit at the end. The core value is like the walls. Like I hit it and I know I hit it. I know it's bad. I know it's like not something I should be doing, but I've already messed up the car, which is me. Right. So imagine if you turn on the lights, you see the yellow lines. So walls are the values and the yellow lines are like, stay away from, you know, these borders, you know, which is crossing the value. You're going to kind of stay in the lane and go through it. And that's the problem. I think a lot of us, we know we have values. We know when we're triggered by them, but I can't articulate it enough. I was just on a show with someone else and we were kind of talking through our values. It's funny. They always tend to come from formative life experiences and things that people are running for and against. And she was talking about how she liked, as a kid, she would go to cemeteries and she just likes quiet and spiritual and whatever. And I was like, so you either came from a house where no one talked or it was abject chaos and you needed quiet. And she said it was actually the latter. It was loud and it was chaotic. And I found this. So as an adult, it's really important to her to find quiet time and environments and like, and even she kind of knew that, but even this is because she put the words on it. She was already kind of like, I'm thinking about some people in my life that aren't very quiet. Like, and I can start to now think of like, maybe I should do this or I shouldn't do this, or I should ask this question, you know, like before I buy a house, like, am I going to find out it's on a noisy road? Like, or I need something, you know, that's off in the woods. So it's that clarity that allows you to make better decisions. And you can't have clarity by just saying, yeah, I sort of know what my values are, or my value is family. I actually don't, I think family is a priority. It's not a value, because a value is consistent across all aspects of your life. And I don't know how you use family in the workplace. You know, what it is there's something that sits deeper, that how you show up for family and what you value about your family is the same as for your friends and your employees.
Yeah. So I would liken that to like, is it love or kinship or like connection?
Community. Yeah.
Right? Community, right. To your point.
Someone with family could have a value of build deep community, right? And that's how they act, or be present or show up. But they're all different, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think you're like making a really good point, which I make in my book, which is like, look, I think core values have to be designed to like express the words of the language of accountability in an organization and in your personal life. And to your point, I think a lot of people will pick these like one words, right, that are generic. How do you feel like, I mean, it sounds like you don't believe in the one word unless it's really explains.
I don't ever believe in the one word, because I don't think it can be, I just don't think it can be clear enough for you. So I have this, the big thing about my process, and if you read the book, Jamie meets a mentor. I'm not giving away anything, but he kind of meets a mentor. He coaches him through this process, helps him figure out these three things he's going through, the big three in life. So your partner, your vocation, your community, and he's having problems with all of them, and he's going to make some decisions. And so in my framework, one of the big things I have is a thing called the core validator. So 4 questions you have to have against any value to make it validated. And the first is, can you use it to make a decision, past or present? Right. Yep. So that's already like, can I use persistence to make a decision? Like, I don't like some things required a lot of time, right? Like, I don't know. That doesn't, when I imagine the opposite of it, does it strike a nerve? Right. So this is because the basis of a value is that when it's crossed, it's not good. You're unhappy. If we figured out one of your values, you told me one of your values, a lot of times what I do is I create an opposite like character. And I'm like, so you meet this character at a bar, and like, what do you think? And you're like, oh, get them away from me. Like, you're grateful and they're talking about their trust fund or whatever it is. So can you use it to make a decision? When you imagine the opposite of it, does it strike a nerve? And then is it a phrase rather than one word? And could you objectively rate yourself on it? So like two of my core values, self-reliance and respectful authenticity, like those follow that filter. Like I know when I'm being too dependent. Like I know if I'm doing a good job at it. I know if I'm being respectful. I know if I'm being authentic. I could look at myself and I can look at a decision and say, does it align? If someone's like, hey, go tell this person like what they want to hear and just be short and curt, I would be like, God, no, that is like the opposite of what I want to do. Like, that's just not my natural orientation.
So when you start to look at, folks who go through this process and they get clarity on their values, you're talking to, I'm an example of someone I did my personal values, funny enough, after I'd done the business values, right? Which is, many years after I think it was even after I wrote the book, at Stegan, right? That's where I did my personal values. So I did them. I have 6 personal core values, which is more than I couldn't settle on 5. So I did 6. When you start to look at people that have gone through this process, obviously you have a lot of people that in your organization that did it. What do they do with them once they're clear on their values? Is there anything that the book talks about regarding how to what to do once you know? Is it just having clarity, or is there stuff that you do afterwards?
It's the decisions and how you show up, right? So you can imagine in leadership, someone who figures out they have a core value of trust. And a lot of people who have this core value of trust have been basically, the way they lead when they don't understand is they just sort people into trustworthy or not trustworthy, right? Because they had a violation of trust most likely in their life. And this has become a rank factor of how they protect themselves, or they're people I can trust. That's not a great way to lead, particularly if people don't know that. And I've found that people that are working for people who have trust core value are in jail without a key thrown out, and they don't even know it, right? Because they showed up 10 minutes late for a meeting and they didn't say anything. So in that case, the answer would be, look, this is who I am. I'm going to go back to my team and say, look, trust is really important to me. And when it's broken, it's hard to get it back. And here are the things that actually break my trust. And if you feel that I'm withdrawn or aloof, like there's probably been a breakage of trust and we should talk. That's the difference between you're driving the car, or imagine like your teenage kid is, practicing and there's a second steering wheel and someone else is like driving it for you. The other aspect is to these decisions, and you think about, we talk about the law of attraction and stuff like that. Well, half of the law of attraction, even if you don't believe in the manifestation stuff, is sort of what I would just awareness, and I would call black Jetta syndrome, which is, if you buy a black Jetta, Volkswagen, you suddenly see more of them on the road, right? Mm. There are not more black Jettas on the road. You are just now aware that lots of other people have the car that you bought. So someone who took this course years ago before the book was out said that they did their core values and they realized they had a real value of giving back. I don't remember. And the other one was related to education. So in their town, they put out a thing saying they wanted someone to run for the school board. And she would have never thought about it anymore. But she actually had just done this and she said, I should do this. And she ran for it and was loving it and was like this new important thing in her life. But she was able to say, oh, I should do that because I'm sitting here looking at my values. And this clearly kind of connects to two of them. So look, a lot of us, we might have I always say, like, you might have a value of health or something like that, or you might have had a health scare and it's really a priority in your life and a value. Well, if you're living in Newcastle, England, in that community where they go out to the bar 7 nights a week and starting at 3:00, like, you're not in the right place, right? You're either going to go and feel shitty about yourself, right? Because you're like, I don't want to be doing this or otherwise, or you're going to sort of withdraw. So you need a community that matches, right? Let's say your core values include all perspectives. You like discussion and dialogue, and you live in a town similar in the book with Jamie, where it's like you got to have a sign in your log. You're on team A or team B. That's not the right place. So you can start to kind of be like, like maybe I need to think about like different friends or different community, or because I know the things that I want and that are important to me, and then I can start to think about who I want to be around.
I love that, man. I really like the perspective around starting to assess your values against your community, not just workplace, how they assess in the community. That's actually a question I have, because one of the things that I had a realization about 6 years ago was, I spent a long time in mortgage lending. I respect mortgage lenders. I've been advising mortgage lenders since then, but I decided operating a mortgage company was not aligned with my values. Like because it was very simple, actually, because it's a volatile industry that's cyclical. You are building it and shrinking it a lot. And I was like, man, this process of building relationships, and for me, like I have my number one value that probably was being, actually, for sure, there's two values of mine that were being violated. One is love. I pour love into my relationships.
Yeah.
And like if you're in my world, like I love on my
right,
people.
And that's super transactional, right? That industry. Yeah.
Super transactional. I was in the full spectrum of it. So parts of ours were less transactional, but there's a huge part that is. If you own the assets, it's less transactional. If you went in the process of aggregating the assets, it's super transactional. And the second one was balance. I was like, I like to have balance in my life, even though I'm not a very balanced person. I strive for it. It's my one ambitious value that I consistently don't hit. But that said, I was like, man, how the hell am I going to have balance and pour love into relationships that may not be here 3 years from now because I have to lay them off when I get rid of a division or whatever, because it's such a cyclical business, and B, like there's no balance in a cyclical business. That's the
right. Maybe the value is right. It's about consistency. Like you like this consistent, and inherently that is a yin yang.
The volatility. I'm anti-volatility. So maybe you're right. Maybe I do have a value around consistency. Right. So for me, I was like
consistency and predictability. Right.
Yeah. This volatility. I was like, dude, I don't enjoy the ride enough. And I was like, this is not fun.
But and some people live on that, right? They live on volatility. Like that's what they wake up for, and they hate consistency, right? So,
yeah. So I was like, I've missed, there's a value misalignment here. This is literally like this is right when I was publishing my book. So I was like, okay, I got to be in something that has more, to your point, consistency. When I pour into relationships, I'm not breaking them because the ground's moving under me. How do you feel around people applying their values once they discover their values, which obviously the book creates that opportunity? How do you feel about them actually looking at their industry they're in and saying, hey, is there a misalignment here? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
The book's the big three, right? It talks about the big three. So it's your partner, your vocation, so it could be your vocation or your company, right? Sometimes you like the work, but it's not the right company, and your community. And that clarity is how you look at all three of those. And I think they have a low chance of success without alignment. And on the relationship side, I didn't understand this in my 20s, but a lot of times we marry people who are opposite in some ways of activity or personality or otherwise. But you've got to be aligned on the values and the big thing, right? My wife and I are very different, but when it comes to the big decisions around our kids and our family, like we're always aligned on those things. We're never like, it'd just be really hard, if you were married to someone who just craved volatility, right? And let's say there are 3 or 4 things like that where you're misaligned, man, that's a lot. That's like 2 magnets flipped, the other direction. Like that's going to be really hard. You can have a few points of conflict that you're aware of. But I was coaching someone, in a leadership capacity on their personal core values, and they figured them out, and they were actually also going through a divorce, and they looked at me and said something like, wow, I'm like, what? And they're like, God, my spouse was just the opposite of these 2 values. And and I was like, yeah, that would be hard. Like I can see how that'd be a real problem in a relationship if they can't give you this because it's so important to you.
Yeah, it's funny when you and the other thing is people. I talked to Rand Stagen about this, and I think there's some I'm more flexible on it now that I'm 47 than when I was 41. And you'll appreciate what I'm about to say. Is I do think that your values adjust as you get older. What you prioritize. I mean, not a lot. I think that the flexibility is less.
They augment your priorities, kind of change. I think maybe you come back to them more, and you've maybe given them up a little bit. Yeah.
You get more clear on them, right? Yeah. To your point, maybe you've given up on them up front and then you come back to them. I think that's a good way of thinking about it. So I could see why in like, I've been with my wife 23 years last week, is when I met her. Like, people grow, they change, they're different. Maybe they get more clear on their values to their point than when they were 23, or they've, healed their childhood traumas and they've progressed into who they're becoming. How do you, when you see this with people, and I know you're not a marriage family therapist or anything like that, but
I ran a services business for 20 years, so I'm pretty much a therapist. So
I was professional services.
I'm like an online. I was like, nothing ever broke that was a product or a shipment. It was just all people all the time.
So when you start to see value conflicts, whether you saw it in your business or people see it in their personal lives, what are your thoughts on obviously identifying what they are is important and getting clear on them. What are your thoughts on how people might come to conclusion or resolution when there is those value conflicts in these important parts of their lives?
Yeah, it's not going to work. And so two things happen. It's just like an employee doesn't fit your values. One, you're going to be frustrated every day, right? Because you are being asked to do something that you don't agree with and go against and otherwise, or you're gonna suppress those values for a while, at which point is probably going to have a big blowout, because you're basically saying, I'm going to design myself who I am because I want to make this work. And that tends to all of a sudden explode, at some point. And so, look, sometimes it's not, you have to leave the environment totally, but you have to change your relationship with it. You've got to change the nature of your job. You got to double down on the parts of it that you like and are like. Imagine someone whose values include all perspectives. They should be doing work where they're assessing what the team wants, getting customer feedback, synthesizing. You shouldn't be sending them out to make unilateral decisions, right? It's not something that they're going to like or they're pretty uncomfortable with. So we're just not going to be happy in these environments. And that doesn't mean we have to do something that day. Look, people have mouths to feed and responsibility or otherwise, but I think acknowledging that and saying, I've got to look at this and whether I could make a change, you're just not going to be happy. I mean, so look, I like money. I like doing well. I like success. Like, great. I have a strong core value of self-reliance and independence. Let's say I married someone really nice and we found out and they have a trust fund, right? And we are going to, let's do what the family wants. And because we have the trust fund, and then that trust fund comes with strings. Oh, well, you got to do that. Like, I couldn't survive in that environment. Some people would love it, like totally love it. But like every day I would wake up and I would hate myself a little bit. And that's just not a way to live. And something must be similar for you, because some people would be like, that's my goal. That's what I'm looking for. Right. But it's so antithetical. Like, I drive myself home from the hospital. Like, I like to do things myself and earn it and not be reliant on other people.
What's funny is you just made me realize that one of my major core values is independence. Yeah. And that it's not actually, I never defined that in there. I just it was something I think I took for granted a little bit, but I'm hardcore independent. Right. So as you said that, I'm like, oh, hell no.
I could see your face. You had the anti-core value reaction.
Yeah.
And look, there's plenty of people who are going, how do I marry someone who has a trust fund? Like, this sounds great.
Yeah. I've seen it firsthand with people I know. And I've watched the pulling of the strings or the dependency on the parents, and I've openly been like, there is no way in God's green earth. I don't know how much money it would have to.
I'd rather live in poverty, right? Than do that.
Yeah. I'm like, for my father-in-law's behest or mother-in-law's behest. I was like, fuck no, no, never. Yeah, you're talking to someone also that
right. So this is a core value, this sort of depth of raw emotion. And again, if we won't get into your childhood, but there was something about independence in that, of whether you had it or didn't have it, or it was the key to break. Like there's something about why that's so important to you.
Oh, I was going to give you some dirt. You could when I was in college, my dad was very controlling of money. And so when I was in college, getting him to help me with my tuition, this is 30 years ago almost, right? Like, college was not that expensive then. it was like pulling teeth. By the time I was junior in college, I was like, how do I not ask this dude for money?
Right.
And so I started like,
that just became a F it, and I will be responsible for myself.
I'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll just work another job because I don't want to have to ask and beg.
Right.
And by the time
you subconsciously at some point said, I will never do this again. Right. And
ever. I was
and
like,
that's why you probably got fired from working for other people and had to work for yourself and like, all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I told a friend, I said, oh, I'm 100% unemployable. Like I will tell you what I think no matter what. And this goes back to independence, right? Like I don't want independence of thought. Right, like I'm not going to sit there and filter what I say when I'm telling you the right thing.
I'm not part of a political party because I don't want to have to like take all of you. I want a la carte. I like this idea. I like that idea. I don't want to have to be on board with all of your dogma.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. All right. So I got to go rewrite one of my core values around independence.
You got to read the book.
Yeah. No, I can't read it. I can't wait to read the book, man. So speaking of the book, it comes out this week, October 14th, wink, wink. With that said, are you doing audiobook? Is it all channels? Like, tell us a little bit about like,
so it's hardcover, Kindle and audio. And look, if anyone goes to compass-within.com and pre-orders the hardcover this week, the course that I've been selling for years, you get the course for free, and it's 10 times the cost of the book. So I think the book's like $17 on Amazon. So just go wherever you want to buy it, and then you go put the order number in on that page, and we'll send you the course. And it's helpful if you actually want to do the work. It kind of gives you the coaching and the scaffolding. Everything is in the book. You can get all the same information in the book. It just kind of like, it gives you some support and a weekly email and some stuff that'll help you with the process itself.
So going, is there pre-order right now for people that maybe like hear this episode early?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Just pre-order. It's all open.
Okay, cool. So I'll make sure we let what I'm going to do on top of this is I'm going to send an email to our mailing list. So make sure.
Bob, we'll send you all that info. Yeah,
your team sends that because I want to make sure we pre-promote the book. So tell us a little bit about. I'd like to know when it comes to folks that are engaging in this type of work. Something that you had said earlier that struck me is, hey, I have a BHAG of helping 1 million people with this work. Like, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, is that just like by reading the book, they're helping 1 million people? What I hear then is, hey, I want to sell 1 million books. Like, what is like? Tell us more about the BHAG.
Yeah, I think if 1 million people figure out their core values, so look, politicians and our institutions are not going to make the world any better at this point. Like it's up to leadership and individuals. And I think like for people to make better decisions and stop with all the tribalism stuff that's going on and everything, they need to do this. So I think it can make a dent in the universe. So, whether it's 1 million books or 1 million people, take the course or get the information or spend the time or answer the 6 questions. So the 6 questions that start off the process are robertglazer.com/6. If you just want to look at the questions, they're right there. It's totally free. There's no one to buy anything. Again, you'll answer those and be like, I just noticed the word independent came up 5 times, when I was asked all these different things about times when I've been successful or situations when I've been unsuccessful. So yeah, I would like to just start a movement where 1 million people try to figure out their core values and then go make better decisions for them and get aligned to the things that they should be doing. Ironically, that project for me is aligned to all 5 of my core values.
Nice.
That's the hill that I'm deciding to climb.
I have a question for you, and I'm going to go back and then I want to go forwards. I'm going back. Like, I know what the trigger was for me around values. It was, doing Birthing of Giants, being introduced to Vern Harnish's work, and then learning that you got to have core values in your business, and then like failing miserably, which my book kind of walks through how I end up figuring it out for my company, and then how I like think of it now. What was the catalyst for you around becoming a core value evangelist?
Yeah, so I went to an EO leadership event like 2013, and right when I was building my business and it was growing and I was kind of burnt out and confused, and I thought it was going to be that it was very tactical around how to become a better leader, but it was really like a big mirror about who are you and what do you value and the importance of values. Much like Simon Sinek, they left us hanging a little bit, which like core values are really important, but like not like, how do I figure it out? Right. And Simon Sinek wrote this book, like Discover Your Why. I was like, great. Well, it turns out it's harder than one would think. So
Sure.
I spent like I was like, wow, we talked about it. I'm values aligned, but I don't know what they are. And that would be really helpful. And I spent 3 to 6 months figuring that out. When I figured it out, I brought it back to our team. I incorporated it into our leadership training. I saw amazing results. I turned it into the course. And I just kept seeing, and the notes I've gotten over the years, and the person who joined the board or did this or left their partner, and that's not the goal here. But just, I'm like, wow, this really makes a difference. And so that's when I became a little evangelical around it.
I love that, man. And so going forward, you've built the business. You're now chairman. You're doing work in the world of podcasts. You're a great podcast. You've written all the books. Like, what's the movement for you going forward? You got a lot of runway left.
Yeah, I'm enjoying like doing a diverse set of things right now. Right, I'm spending some time as the chairman of my business. I'm helping, like you. I'm coaching some other people and up and coming leaders in our industry and otherwise, where my turns around the block can help them, and they're much smarter and harder working than I am at this point. And then I'm spending time on my writing and speaking, and I'm working on the next book, and it'll be a couple years, but this concept of the overlap between leadership and parenting has sort of really intrigued me, and why those of us who study leadership could identify that a lot of the most common modern day practices would like get you fired like from your job in 5 minutes. And so why aren't we reconciling that? Or we know we hate micromanagers at work, but then we're tracking the freaking of our kids at home and like asking them where they are, not giving them any trust. And it's like, how are we not connecting that's not good leadership? So it sort of explores that topic in a fun way.
I love that, man. By the way, who's your publisher? I know you have a great publisher. Who's publishing?
Source Books, who's part of Penguin Random House.
Yeah, that's a great publisher. Awesome. So look, man, I'm so pumped for the book. Anyone that wants to get it, why don't we like kind of lay out how they can get the book? I know it's where all books are sold, but like, where can they get it? How can they get it? What's the best way for people to get?
Go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, whatever it is, but go to compass-within.com. Right in the middle of the page, wherever you order it from, put in the order number and the info there, and let us send you the course. Because after the launch week, it's back to its regular price. And again, I just want people to do the work. So pre-order the book. We have some fun stuff going on, launch events, and but again, Compass Within, a little story about the values that guide us wherever books are sold, and support your local bookseller if you can, if they're still in your town.
I love that, man. Normally I knew the greatness question, but you've been on the show so much, I don't want to be repetitive there, man. I'm really pumped for the book. I'm excited to promote it to our audience. Any last thoughts that you could think of?
Yeah, again, I know the reason why this is a story is I think people can relate reading the story and get interested in it. I know this feels like a big, scary thing. And I would say to people, just start, just get curious, ask some questions into it. Like, it really, the best thing to do is to take the first step if you're interested, and not worry about the whole thing.
You know what, man? Like, what I would tell you is this, and this is just coming again from one person that has geeked out on this subject a lot, is having clarity around this is such an I think that it's something that you kind of already know. Having a tool like what you're talking about that you've created, that you've used successfully with your team and within your own life, just kind of takes you that last the last mile to get it done. Because I think people intuitively kind of know what their values are, but being able, to your point, get explicit,
but knowing them after you've crossed the electric fence is not like super helpful, right? The whole point is not to get electrocuted.
I love that. Yeah, no. You do not want to listen. I will be, as a person who has persistently rubbed up against the wall and seen sparks, I will say that like getting clear on it is really important. The sooner the better. So I don't think it's as scary. I think look, you're feeling the pain every time you have something where you viscerally are like super pissed about something that happened. You're rubbing up against a value, right? So getting clear on it,
right? You go home and you're steaming and it's bothering you, and probably, or the person, right? And you're able to recognize, so there's some people who are like, wow, like this person's just right. They're constantly rubbing me the wrong way. Like this is a values problem.
Yeah, definitely. My friend, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody go out there, buy Bob's book, The Compass Within. Looking forward to all of its success and all of your success.
Email us your values, email your draft values. We have a chat GPT bot that'll help like figure it out. Like we will respond and we'll help you figure out what they are.
All right. You guys, you heard it here first. Let's go.
I may regret Bob. Saying that, but we're gonna only for Darius, friends of Darius. All right. Point, so.
Let's do it. Bob, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on. Looking forward to all the success of your book.
Thank you, Darius.
All right, you guys, let's do it. Let's support him. Until next time, peace out. We love you.
She's my lover. You are listening to The Greatness Machine, and that's a wrap for today. Listen, if you love what you heard, subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform that you're tuning in on, so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. We have tons of great people coming on, and we're stoked to have you here to enjoy it with us. Leave us a review. Tell us what you love most about this particular episode. We love getting the reviews. We love to see what you guys love most. And if this particular episode, made you think of someone who's leveling up in their business and in their life, print screen, share it with them. Leaders are the best givers. And after all, we're all here to support and grow with each other. And in case you want to see some of the fun behind the scenes shots or some of the things that we're doing, I'm actually writing about this in my weekly newsletter. Go to www.therealdarius.com and subscribe to my newsletter. We're talking about fun things like business and life and mindfulness and cryptocurrencies and gosh, I don't even know, everything and anything, but it's tons of fun stuff I write about. I try to get it out on a weekly basis. You can subscribe at www.therealdarius.com. And with that said, look, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace. We're out of here. See you guys on the next one. She's my lover.